Friday Frenzy with Lisa Novak, Mark Novak, real estate agents on the Northern Beaches, summarising the last 7 days.
Friday Frenzy, we call it, guys. So we just talk about just everything, really, that's gone on for the week. It always amazes me, Mark, how much stuff can happen in a week. Like, I get to the end of Monday, finish up at about sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, something, whatever, and just think, oh my goodness, we've still got a whole week ahead. It's I'm not using the word BUSY anymore, but it's it's been quite the roller coaster week, that's for sure.
Ooh. Quote for the week: a healthier person has 100 problems. A sick person has one problem.
Yeah, and I tell you what, just on that, our eldest daughter's going to kill me for saying this, but she did have COVID about, maybe 5-6 weeks ago now, and had an issue with her hearing. And I had to take her yesterday afternoon to a hearing specialist. She went to an ENT who said, I think you've lost some of your hearing as a result of COVID. And thankfully everything was okay. But I tell you what, it really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, very quickly.
Really puts things into perspective. Thankfully everything is fine. But yeah, it's like, you just sort of, you bop along, think, oh my God, everything's so busy, work's so big. We have a very crazy life, Mark.
You use the word. You use the B word.
I use the B word. It'll take a little bit of time, guys. It's like an addict coming off something. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I did say to my girlfriends, I'm really going to stop trying to use that word a lot more. But we do have a crazy life. We really do run at a very furious speed. A lot of our friends and people that know us will often say, like, you guys just Novak stuff. Because nothing's normal. Everything's like tenfold on top of what it ordinarily should be.
It's crazy. So, observation I had for this week: the investor is back in the Sydney market.
Yes.
That's something that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think people, Lisa, built a lot of equity into their homes the last year, and I think now they've turned around and said, now let's put it somewhere and let's get our money working for us. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So something interesting happened with me this week. I went and did a proposal for a really nice house. And the vendor, usually vendors will get, in a few agents, and there's absolutely nothing unusual about that. But what was unusual was that the vendor had told me who I had come up against, which is fine. She volunteered that information. But what was even
do agents like to hear that?
What? Who
they're up against?
I generally know. Like, I feel like I often come up against similar agents.
Yeah.
It honestly doesn't really bother me. I mean, you go in.
I like to know. It changes my technique.
Yeah,
when I know who I'm up against.
But do you ask? And actually, I'm interested to know, guys, anyone that's watching that's an agent, I'm interested to know if you ask who your competition is. I would love to know. I would love to know if agents actually do that.
I'm not interested in my competition, but I do change when I find out who my competition is. I'll focus on my strengths even more that I have over that competition.
Right. So rather than me doing that, Mark, and I'll come back in a moment to what the vendor said, but rather than me doing that, I'm more focused on the vendor rather than who the competition could potentially be. So I'll focus on the vendor and who I'm sitting opposite and what their needs are. It's a very important question to ask as an agent. What do you need? What's important to you? And I find that most of the time it's not commission. They're not saying, we're looking for the cheapest commission because we just, that's really important to us. Often they'll give you other things that they're looking for in an agent: trust, someone that they can connect with, someone that's obviously going to get them a great price, that's going to work hard. The wonderful thing is most of this information is actually public.
Yep.
Most of it's public. So I try to
Um,
really read the play with the client.
I think also enjoying the process. I think when you know it's someone that you trust, and maybe even if they're a bit energetic, light-hearted, professional, fun on the approach, those things also help
Yes.
as well, because you don't want someone like sinister. They come in and they're like really like they're just pulling it apart. Like
Yeah.
it's got to be. It can be like as you know, at least the process can be really really stressful for someone who's selling, and
Yes.
if we can take any of that pain, pinch points or pain away, that's great.
Which sort of brings me,
yeah,
which brings me back to the story. So the vendor said to me, look, I had an agent in, you might know this person, and mentioned it. And they are a large agency. And she said to me, she pretty much just sat through the whole proposal, just saying not very nice things about you. And I said, oh, well, that's a little bit unprofessional. I mean, in my wildest dreams, I would never, ever sit in a proposal and bag another agent. It's just not my form. It's exceptionally unprofessional. Anyway, the vendor actually stopped this agent in their tracks and said, look, I'm just going to stop you right there. I've done my research. That's not at all what I've found. It is very unprofessional what you're saying, and that's certainly not what any of Lisa's reviews or vendors have to say about her. And I can see what prices she gets for properties. Look, I think we'll just call it quits there. You've helped me make my decision pretty much. So it was interesting, but I'm keen to know, guys, if you're watching and you're an agent, do you come up against this? Do you hear? Do you ask who your competition is? I'm really keen to know. But Mark, I don't know what's bipping. Is that you or me?
it's you.
Oh, it's me bipping, is it? Sorry, I
Yeah,
apologise. I don't know why we're bipping here. But
can't hear it.
personally, as an agent, it's exceptionally unprofessional. Not in my wildest dreams would I ever sit opposite a prospective vendor and talk badly, even when I'm asked, Mark.
You know what my mum used to
Even when
say?
I'm asked.
Growing up, my mum used to always say, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it. And it's like,
You know,
it's
yeah,
true.
all. Yeah. And you know what? All of these things that parents used to tell us when we were younger and we're, roll our eyes at them. Don't you find now you grow up and you're like,
You're
oh,
like,
it's almost like Confucius.
you're like, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
yeah,
look,
that's
it's
right.
so true. So, what else on Friday Frenzy, Lise? What else have you experienced in the last week?
So nothing much has changed this week with the market. It seems to have well and truly stabilized. I'm finding, as I said, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. And again, my theory, my theory is over the last few years with COVID, the worse COVID seems to get, the more it seems to be spiking the market. Right now,
Yeah,
things seem to be quite level with COVID. And therefore that market is quite level out there. So it's a fair playing field for vendors and a fair playing field for buyers.
yep, yep, yep. It's a balanced market. One of our colleagues used to say that it's just business last year. It was just such an aggro property market in general, like it was violent. Um, as a seller, very intimidating. As a buyer, very intimidating. Um, Whereas now, I think as a buyer, there's a bit more better selection out there, and that haste is has been taken out. And I think as a seller as well, like because the sellers were worrying about what they were going to buy, and now it's more of a comfortable transition for them. So it's definitely, I
Yeah.
call it the property bus, and the property bus is doing 50, 60 kilometres an hour now, whereas the property
Yeah.
bus was doing 150 kilometres an hour last year. So it's much easier to get on and off the property bus.
Yes. Agreed. I agree with that. Something else just interesting, Mark, on a side note, I did yesterday. I was in between appointments and I looked around in my car, which is where we spend so much of our time as real estate agents, and just thought it's actually really interesting what is in a real estate agent's car, because it is our home away from home. Like, I'm sure any agent that's watching will will verify. You look around in your car, Mark, you'll be like, oh my God, there's like
This
a
is the
method to the madness.
this is the golden book for any real estate agent's car. So it is
Yeah.
like, shit, I've got to write that down, and you got that there ready to go. Pen, pencil, and pen. I like my pencil.
Not only that, Mark, but we're really good at if there's stuff that you use over and over and over again on repeat, just get the best of it.
Yeah,
So, like,
100%.
you use so much sanitizer. I mean, look at that. That's a 6'5" man's hand
It's a 1
sanitizer
litre.
right there.
It's two 1 litres there. I got two of them. What else is in
But
a real
looking
estate
around my
agent's
car
car?
yesterday, honestly, you look around and you just think, yeah, like the umbrella. The umbrella is something that's really important to us. We're running in and out in the rain all the time. And so I went and got the best one that money can buy, that won't flip up, that'll fit inside my bag.
That doesn't get
What have
caught
you got
behind
there,
your
Mark?
seat. Glass cleaner. That doesn't get put.
The,
Your large umbrellas used to get wedged in between the back seat and snapped.
yeah, so true.
It's
It's
in a real
so
estate
true.
agent's
But what's
car.
inside our cars,
Wallet.
it's hysterical. Always a spare set of glasses. I've got my Harris Farm nuts with the lid on there so that they don't get all mangy, because often, we'll be running around. There's no time for lunch, and you're starving and you're like, oh my God, I'm literally not going to stop until at least 4 o'clock. There, grab a handful of those nuts. They're always there in my car. But
I've
yeah,
got
as I said, looking around yesterday, it was hysterical. There's always the spare lipstick, the mints, obviously the hand sanitizer. There's the spare sanitizer. It's hysterical.
on my keyring. I've just pulled it off, but on my keyring, nice and close, I've got my emergency AirPods, because I always lose my AirPods. You said when you're doing something all the time, you do it properly. Well, the problem I had was I kept taking out my AirPods and throwing them on a table, and when I throw them on a table, where they go? In a chair. Whereas now my rule is they always go back in the case, and the case is wedged on my keyring.
So, guys, there's something that you don't
Uh,
know about Mark, or you may be starting to work it out. Mark will invent the craziest hacks, like literally will invent them from nowhere. And I think to myself, okay, like
so
that's
dumb.
weird. Who does that stuff? And then 3 months later, I'll start to do it as well.
Well,
So,
an
Mark,
example.
we're going to spend a segment. Hang on, we're going to spend a segment on Mark's crazy hacks, because honestly, like, you will find a use for cable ties. Like, honestly, I just think to myself, who comes up with this
No,
stuff? But we're going to do a
my
whole
latest
segment on
one.
it.
My latest one was I bought at home a slider, and it slides from clean to dirty, and I stuck it to the dishwasher, and we just got a brand new kitchen, and then when I stuck it to the dishwasher, Lisa was absolutely mortified, going, "What is that? You are not sticking that onto our new kitchen. That is disgusting." She said
So,
it
guys,
once.
just so that you understand what Mark's talking about, one side, so it's a slider, and on one side it says clean, and one side it says dirty,
Yeah. And then,
right?
and to take that a step further, when your dishwasher's dirty, you always have it on the slide mode. It says slide, and as soon as you turn the dishwasher on for a wash mode, you turn it to clean, walk away, and then when no one actually opens that dishwasher up and throws dirty shit in there after it's done its cycle.
Because
But
how many times do
I,
you open the dishwasher and have that conversation where you're like, is it
and you
clean
look,
or
and
dirty,
no,
guys?
you're looking in the dishwasher going, is that clean or is that dirty? Yep, that's dirty. And you throw your stuff in, or no. So I bought the slider, stuck it to the dishwasher. You bagged the shit out of me when I bought it, and for the last 3 months, you never said one thing you like it, and you would never admit it.
Oh, we lost Mark. We lost you, Mark. Where'd you go?
You like it and you'll never admit it.
All right, guys. I think we've lost Mark there. We've lost Mark there. All right, guys. You know what? We are going to spend a segment on Mark's crazy hacks because there are millions of them. As I said, I think we've lost Mark. He's frozen. I don't know what's happened there. Maybe he's got a hack prepared for that. Guys, have an awesome day. Thank you so much for joining us. Friday Frenzy with Lisa and Mark Novak. Love you guys. See ya.